is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle.
Why only in America?
People want their country to work.
Just want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines, no guesses tonight, with the Daily Mirror's associate editor Kevin Maguire and the Daily Mail's Whitehall editor Claire Ellicott. Welcome and great to see both of you. So let's see what is on the front pages, the budget analysis from them. Not surprisingly, the Financial Times leading with the £40 billion worth of tax increases outlined in the budget by the Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Pointing out the risk she might be taking, the Metro harks back to the days of New Labour with their headline, "Things can only get better." The Guardian leads on the tax, spending and borrowing increases announced by the Chancellor. Spending on public services is the focus for the Mirror as part of Labour's plan to rebuild Britain. Meanwhile, the Eye calls the budget a £40 billion tax gamble. And the Times reports on the increase in public borrowing, declaring the budget a record tax burden. And it's called a tax bombshell by the Mail. While The Sun combines the Chancellor's budget with Halloween, its headline, "At least she kept it down at the pumpkins." The Telegraph does the same, not quite the same, calling the budget a nightmare on Downing Street and claiming it will damage living standards, as does the Express with the headline, "Halloween Horror Show." A reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you listen to our guests. So let's go to Kevin and to Claire. Goodness, that was a whopper, wasn't it? Tax, spend, borrowing, talking in the billions here. And how much of it, to put the question Beth Rigby did, Kevin, was in the manifesto?
Yeah, very little. She made a mark, didn't she? It's a significant budget. You can go back to Geoffrey Howe in 1979 with Thatcher. And she's gone off on a centre-left tilt here, and little of it was in the budget, because I think Labour's total tax rises in the budget were about £9 billion on non-doms, VAT on private school fees, some on private equity and so on. And this is, what, 4.5 times as big? But you look at the FT, that front page, I think she'd be quite happy with that, because it just states a fact, 40 billion tax rise. But you like the way they've highlighted...
We haven't got to the Mail yet, but anyway...
I think it's where, in a way, you'll see the politics of papers, whether they're hostile or sympathetic. And the FT is quite sympathetic to Labour at the moment. So, look, she's aimed at fixing broken finances and public services. Business and wealthy bear bulk of the rises. She'll like that. And then the sharp surge in borrowing isn't so good, but it's an extra 100 billion of capital spending. But when you read the story, though, they highlight a couple of things she won't like highlighting. One is that inflation will be up about 0.5% as a result. And the other is the FT point out that last year she told the Financial Times their taxes are at a 70-year high. I don't have plans to be a tax-raising chancellor. Now, her argument, of course, is the 22 million black holes. She wouldn't start here, but she has. She feels she has to do it. But there'll be that big argument again about Labour's manifesto. What mandate do you have? And the row will go on.
She feels she has to do it. Does that justify what some people will feel watching this, that they lied to us? And they lied for months and months and months, with every journalist asking the question about tax rises, about their plans, about borrowing, about fiscal rules. It's nothing to what we heard today.
Yeah, well, the Institute of Fiscal Studies pointed out both parties were essentially lying. And if the Conservatives were in power, they would have been putting up taxes and probably slashing spending on services, while she's put up taxes by more so she can improve public services, particularly the NHS. No, both parties played a game at the election, and Labour's strategy was to diffuse, and we'll get to the Mail on this, was to fuse what the Tories would say is Labour's tax bombshell, or Labour's tax bomb. 1992, it exploded all over Labour and John Major got back into power. Labour this time round was determined the election wasn't going to be 1992 again. So yeah, so they were economical with the facts, you could say, and misled people on the scale. Some of it you can justify on what they inherited, but others it's a political decision.
Well, you can justify it on need because everybody wants the NHS to be functioning better. Should we jump ahead to your paper then, The Mail?
Yeah.
Reeves's £40 billion tax bombshell for Britain's drivers. Record hike will take the tax burden to the highest level ever. The burden of it falling on businesses due that employers' national insurance, which will trickle down to employers, we heard from the OBR today, which, I mean, all of the quantity of this throws into shade the question about what does tax on working people mean, because all of this is kind of new to the party, isn't it?
Going back to your original question, did Labour tell the truth about what they were going to do during the election campaign? Did we expect this budget? No, we didn't. People were told that they were not going to put up taxes on working people. There is no way that national insurance contributions going up for businesses does not trickle down and affect wages and, in fact, investment that businesses do, affect like employment, affect how many people they hire, affect people's wages. This is something that will be paid for by Britain's businesses and therefore by workers, and it will have an ongoing impact. So, you know, Rachel Reeves told us she wasn't going to put up national insurance for working people. She didn't always clarify that, but she has put up national insurance, and it will be felt in the wages of Britain's workers, which is entirely what she said she wouldn't do. She also said this would be a budget for growth, and we've seen that growth forecasts have actually been downgraded as a result of this budget. And she also said that, and Keir Starmer said they would restore trust in politics. There is no way that Britain's workers are going to feel like they were told the truth during that election campaign when the effects of this filtered through.
Growth goes up initially in the first 2 years.
Because
and then
they pump in so much money.
Yeah, and then it
to
goes down afterwards. And the Office for Budget Responsibility say about 3/4 of the national insurance increase will be passed on in lower future wage rises, not falling wages, but your rises in the future may not be as big. But if you look at the figures on employment and unemployment, they're not massively impacted, actually, because there's a tight labour market, and employers aren't philanthropists. They don't employ people to think that it's great, let's give them some money and a job. They do it because they need them. And so there's not going to be this mass surge of unemployment as a result of it. But yes, there is an impact on wages. But you can't have good, decent public services and not spend on them. It's a myth. It's a myth that's been perpetrated for the last 14 years.
Look, we've had a situation where we kind of want taxes like they get in America, but public services like they have in Europe. And she has decided to take us towards a European model where, in fact, actually, proportionally, we do not have a very high tax burden. Should we continue with the newspaper?
Boris Johnson put up employers' national insurance as well, didn't he?
But
and it got cancelled, but he did. He put it up.
No, he did, but he put it for a specific reason, which is that we need to support our health service and we need to pay into social care.
It was, but hers is a specific.
But why not say that in your manifesto, we're going to put a penny up or 2 penny up on income tax for a specific reason?
Boris Johnson said in his manifesto he specifically wouldn't do it, and he did it. Now, she has done it for the NHS. That's why. If you want a decent health service, it's got to be paid for.
Yeah, not what you said during the election.
No way around. No, I mean, during the election, they should have been honest.
Yeah.
But people vote Labour knowing they will get higher taxes in the hope that they get better public services.
Exactly.
And to not spell that out.
Well, that is the political gamble, isn't it? But in all seriousness, we're looking at an election in America where there is toxicity and misinformation in campaigning. So trust in politics is incredibly serious. Yeah. And we're back to having to challenge that in this country when we've been through that.
But the problem in the political system now is no party is honest. I mean, that is the problem. Okay. And so if you are honest, you will lose. It's terrible, it's shaming. But that is it. We have a dishonest system at elections. And
I think you're right, but I think Keir Starmer did stand on a platform of restoring.
Oh no! Well, yeah. He may have meant it at the time.
He restored public trust and said there'd be no new taxes.
Yeah, well, it went out
the two together as a budget for growth.
It went out the window with a winter fuel allowance, didn't it?
I think you're probably right.
The only way there's going to be Britain's going to have the more sustained economic growth in the G7 Labour's mission is if the other 6 economies collapse now. When you look at those figures.
Quick look at the other headlines, of which there are many. The Guardian, return of tax and spend. And borrowing, we add to that as well. The Mirror, your paper, spending power. And this is the upside, of course, isn't it?
It is.
The fact that public services, people have felt have been rotten, and this might change it.
Yeah, and the Mirror is, the Mail's hostile to the Labour government. The Mirror's sympathetic. I think they're wrong on winter fuel. And that is it. There is an upside. Right? There's pain, but there's also gain. And if you value the NHS, and the Mirror's a big supporter of the NHS, readers depend on it. In the country, it's a national religion. You have to spend on it. Yes, you have to reform it, do all those changes with technology, shift from treatment to prevention.
Analog to digital.
I was trying not to use that one. I mean,
there was another one,
hospitals into the community. You've got to do those three things. But they all cost money.
Yeah. Let's. Given the date of this is Thursday, October the 31st. Daily Express, Halloween horror show. Picture there of Rachel Reeves with her red box, and I know both of yours favourite, The Sun. I had to actually ask what it meant, but there we go. At least she kept it down at the pumpkins, because obviously they've got to keep it down campaign, which is about fuel duty, which is frozen again.
So this is our budget favourite. Every time the budget comes up, there's a big question over fuel duty, whether they're going to unfreeze the duties on it. And it's one of the Sun's big campaigns. And the Sun backed Labour this time, unexpectedly. They always back the winner. And their big campaign ask is always about fuel duty, making sure, ordinary drivers don't have to pay more at the pumps. And we didn't know whether Rachel Reeves would do it, but she's done it, and we have this front page.
But the Sun backed Labour when Labour was like backing a football team and 16-0 up. Right at the very end.
Reluctantly backed
but this is the front page they will like, because they will feel they've neutralised the Sun.
OK. There's an upside to mid-year £40 billion of taxes. There you go. Anyway, lots more analysis to come later with that. Also ahead, could a last-minute gaffe by Joe Biden hurt Kamala Harris's election chances next week? That and more after the break.
Are you ready to make your voices heard?
As America votes,
win, 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 win.
Get ready for an election night like no other.
Join our team stateside
as we get close to the action
and bring you the results as they arrive.
With full reaction and comprehensive analysis guiding you through the night.
In an election which could have huge consequences around the world.
America Votes, Election Night Live.
Get the full story first on Sky News.
I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent.
The enormous explosion that's just come down, I think it was a monster just landed in between us.
Hundreds and hundreds of people hoping to get north, ultimately to get to the United States. It's a border where they're not welcome, yet they keep coming.
We saw snatch squads going in, grabbing people, taking them out and putting them into trucks and taking them away.
They make about 50 kilos of fentanyl a week. It's incredibly dangerous and toxic stuff.
There's been an upsurge in deaths. The fighting between the gangs is getting more and more vicious.
Is this now all your territory?
Yeah.
The battlefield is outside the barricades, which is over there. This is much more like a normal town. It's really sending a clear message that Venezuela is eager for change.
We're being crushed. Free from wherever you get your news. We are in the middle of a forest, in a jungle really, and they're attempting to keep these men alive. This is real, hardcore emergency medicine. The information on this could bring down the entire network, not just in Iraq and Syria, but across the world. Sky News, the full story first.
Well, hundreds of thousands of people have been using the beast for years to traverse Mexico, but it is really dangerous. Many people have died riding it.
The most significant day of this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And
this is what's left of it.
Ten heavy vehicle.
Why only in America?
People want their country to work.
You want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Or dry.
Well, welcome back. You are watching the press preview with me once again, Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott. Welcome back to both of you. Let's go to our next paper then, shall we, which is the devastation in floods in the Valencia area. Funneled, it seems, downriver and floodplain, but the stacking of cars, like matchboxes, is something that will really live with you after this flooding.
No, absolutely. It's they are the pictures that most shocked me, and it is just the force of that amount of water. And of course, anybody trapped in its way, you can't escape. There's been some terrible pictures of people being filmed, being washed down rivers, and you kind of fate unknown, but you can pretty much guess what it is. It's interesting. If it wasn't for the budget, it wouldn't be on page 14 of the Metro. I think the Guardian have got a little strip on it. I think all the other papers don't mention it at all. When you have
on the front,
the figure varies, but the Guardian has 95 dead, 64 here in the Metro that has very early deadlines. Yeah, it's given this as a European country not far from the UK, which so many people have visited, so they know
and live in. Brits anyway.
Yeah, and I acknowledge people are dying in Lebanon, Sudan, Gaza, other countries. And people can argue maybe they should be getting more coverage now than they do. But this has just happened, which is why it's news.
Yeah. And it's the quantity of rainfall brought about by climate change, again, that we're seeing, this absolute devastation and speed of fall. 1 year's worth of rain in just over 4 hours in one area. At least 95 dead. Clearly, recovery, if you look at the vehicles, there's so much work to be done and 3 days of mourning and more rain to come. So absolutely awful.
And I think what's extraordinary about this is that we don't expect these kind of floods in Europe. We don't generally have them. But in recent years, and that's what makes it very newsworthy, in recent years, we've had Europe being on fire during the summer, forest fires everywhere. We've had wildfires, we've had flooding like this, and you can see the kind of effects of a change in climate coming to Europe in a way in which, you just didn't see things like this 10 years ago.
It's also that story in the Times World section, but also on that page is Joe Biden's garbage gaffe, which puts Harris on the back foot, just as she was saying to Trump supporters, come join us, I'll work with everybody. Exactly the opposite, in fact, of what's outlined here.
No, Dottery Joe Biden comes out, and you can see if he was the candidate, it would be game, set and match, and Trump would be an absolute shoo-in for president. But he's said, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, that's Trump supporters. He meant, or we're told he meant, the supporters who were talking about Puerto Rico being an island of garbage, the comedian, but he's talked about the supporters. Now, Hillary Clinton, in her contest in 2020, described Trump supporters, was it a basket of deplorables, to describe them as deplorables? And that really damaged her. So you can see why Harris is thinking, oh, God, this is the last thing I needed. But then Trump is very free and easy with all these insults about
It doesn't stick the same, does it? I mean, Joe Biden's giving out candy for Halloween today. Halloween, of course, is very big business in America. Perhaps he sticks to that sort of gig for the moment. He's only got another 6 days or so, hasn't he?
Just smile, smile. Yeah.
Give out the sweets to the children.
Yeah, don't be a Halloween horror yourself.
Both of you, thank you both very much indeed. See you for the 11 right now. Let's take a look at the weather closer to home at least, and high pressure nearby will keep things quiet and mild into next week, but it will be rather cloudy with rain or drizzle in places. Expect a mostly dry and cloudy start to the day, but there will be some patchy light rain or drizzle around, mainly in the windy northwest. Parts of the clearer south will have some mist and fog, so pretty murky. They will lift through the morning to leave sunny spells for southern Britain. The northeast looks bright too, but most other places will be overcast, mainly dry again, wet for the Northern Isles and damp on some hills, especially in the northwest. Staying mild, but northern parts look windy, with gales likely on Scottish coasts and hills. So for most people, if you're out trick or treating, it looks just about OK. Well, our press preview continues in Sky News at 11, looking in more detail at today's £1 billion tax-raising budget gamble by the Chancellor.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
I say, bring it on.
With America divided and tensions running high, get ready for an election like no other.
Join our teams as we follow the campaign trail as America decides.
We will win, win, win.
Get closer to the action this US election with full reaction and analysis.
Sky News, the full story first.